There we go. Yes, you got it underneath.
Good morning. It is Monday, April the 26th, 2021. It's 9 o'clock and the Commissioners Court is in session. If you would, please stand for prayer. Good and gracious God, we come to you and give thanks today. We give thanks for being able to reassemble and group here as a court at the bench. We give you thanks for being able to return normal seating, or almost normal seating, to our courtroom. We give you thanks for getting through this COVID pandemic, at least to date. We give you thanks for surviving the snowstorm and the ice storm. And we give you thanks for the opportunity to work together as a court and work on our budget, which our budget season starts today. This is a season of renewal in the spring when we plant seeds, and we have good news to report with the budget, and we're grateful for that. It's time for us to rededicate ourselves. We pray for strength and wisdom and understanding and compassion that we may serve the common good. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Okay, I want to remind everyone to please turn your cell phones to vibrate so as not to interrupt the proceedings today. First thing on our agenda always is public input, and if you look at our agenda, we're not starting with consideration on the status of where we are with COVID. But I am going to invite Deb Thomas, who is with us, to come forward and offer the public input because we need to hear the status of that, which is all good news. So, welcome, Deb Thomas. Deb, if you'll just kind of give us a brief update.
Well, we're still waiting on FEMA to decide whether or not Kirk County is going to be included in individual assistance. We've had over 548 individual assistance surveys turned in, so I think we're just waiting. As far as COVID goes, our numbers are still low, extremely low, and we hope to keep them that low. We are still working on vaccinations. We're going to have a large vaccination clinic coming up in May 3rd through the 7th. It's going to be 5 days of COVID testing. Texas Military Department will be here, and we're going to be vaccinations May 3rd through the 7th. So 5 days of vaccinations will be open to the public. It'll be first come, first serve. It'll be a walk-in at the First United Methodist Church. If you have to wait in line, that's probably going to be a possibility. And at the end of the day, if the military department didn't bring enough vaccines for that day, probably going to have to go home and come back the next day. But they're going to gauge the number of vaccines they bring each day, depending on what they did the day before. So things are looking good right now. If we could just get individual assistance from FEMA, I think we'd be a lot better off.
Doug, which vaccine are they going to bring?
I believe it's going to be Moderna.
So that's the 2 doses.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For the public, anyone that wants to call in, this will be the last regular Commissioners Court meeting where we're going to have the call-in option, as I understand it. So you can call, the number is 830-792-6161. And that cell phone number rings out at the court coordinator's desk She will pass note to me. We will call you here on the speakerphone so that you can participate in the meeting. So if there's anyone that would like to offer input on something not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to call in. If it's on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called. So with that, let's go for commissioners' comments. Commissioner Blue, you look good.
Thank you. I don't remember anybody ever saying that to me before. I wasn't going to say it. And so I really appreciate that. Just, spring has sprung. I want to remind everybody we still want to be really careful with any burning or anything going on. There was a little bit of rain over the weekend. Folks ran out and burned, and just please be careful. We have not a lot to report going on in Precinct 1.
Good. Precinct 2.
Couple of things. There's a lot of interest in a lot of the community in Precinct 2 about the housing developments, okay? A lot of questions. So I think what we're going to do, I've proposed, and we'll see if everybody will support it, the developers that is, have a town hall meeting for the two developers of Centerpoint Village and Verde Creek Ranch, if that's still the name, to come together with the community and address their questions and let them explain what they're planning to do with those developments. But anyway, just a communication session.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Can we include the expansion of the trailer park in Comfort? Because that's also.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it's
sure.
Precinct 3, but I mean,
Yeah.
Well, they're all new developments over there on the east side of the county. We ought to have an update of what they're doing.
Yeah, that'd be good. No, that's an excellent suggestion. Okay, good.
Sorry to interrupt, but
No, that's okay. Now, all as far as it's been my experience, that lots of rumors start and all that kind of stuff. The best way to do is put it on the table, let everybody know what it is, ask their questions, and hopefully it'll help. The other thing is still a lot of concern about aggregate production operations in and out of throughout the county, but in particular West Texas aggregate. So looking at the possibility of having a lady who's had a lot of experience over in Buda that's been able to work with the aggregate production operators and with the community and reach some very good common grounds and a balance, I guess is the best way to say it. So looking at perhaps bringing her in and having a communication session, city, county, all those that would want to participate in such a thing. So those are two things in Precinct 2.
good. 3.
Oh, well, all I'm really happy is that we need rain.
Well, there's some forecast this week. I don't know how
I
much
know
we're
it's
going to get.
forecast and hopefully we get.
40% tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really, really dry. The eastern part of the county, look at the map, I think the eastern county, part of the county is drier than the western, but the western catching up quick.
Yeah, we'll catch up. And we got a little tease last week of rain, and looks like we got maybe another shot midweek this week. One thing I might bring up, I've heard that the voting in Ingram's been very light. Bob, would you say that? Or do you know numbers for what's been going through voting, early voting in Ingram? But I've heard it's very light.
For the city of Ingram, it's 4.2% turnout.
Wow. So, guys, no complaints if you don't vote. Please turn out. So that's all I have.
Judge, I have one other thing. It's not just Precinct 2, but that brought up the rain. Yeah, we need it. I've noticed probably a combination of lack of rain and that hard freeze, which you mentioned in the prayer. I've noticed a lot of live oaks that have no leaves on them. I think we've lost a lot of live oaks in this county. Some combination. Jonathan knows more about it than I do, but I mean, I walked the area yesterday. It looked devastating in some things. Large. I mean, it's not just oak willows. I mean, it's just bang overnight.
There's a lot of trees that are really hit pretty hard by it.
Right.
Yeah.
I was telling somebody in the audience earlier, the good news, it looks like it knocked out the Weesatch everywhere, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's killed them everywhere I've seen them. So,
Well, that is a good thing. But I did hear that the peach trees in Gillespie County fared pretty well through this freeze.
Yeah.
They came just early enough to save the crop.
Okay.
Countywide, as county judge, today is the day that I roll out my budget. I know I've already given a copy to the commissioners. And just want to hit a couple of highlights in the comment part because it's not on the agenda. And so this is my opportunity to share what we've tried to do with the budget. First thing, let me roll out the numbers because everybody wants to know those numbers. We've got revenues, projected revenues, tax revenues, and all our other sources of revenue of approximately $38.4 million. And I have prepared a budget for not quite $6 million, which is a deficit of $166,000, which is, for historically, that would be probably the lowest deficit budget we've had in maybe the last decade. We have fared very well through the COVID season, through this past year. There's a lot of money that we budgeted that we were unable to spend, which is a good thing because we still have the money. This is a no new tax rate budget. Taxes will not go up. We've got about $300,000 worth of new revenue from new construction. High points are no new revenue tax rate, $300,000 from new construction. The only reason that this is a deficit budget, it would have been a surplus budget, but for the fact that we're funding the capital improvements for the Sheriff's Department on the proposed leasing program that we'll hear later. That's almost $200,000 that's in this coming year's budget to be able to provide for that program. I've also put in $130,000 for road and bridge, and $490,000 for the airport. All their requested capital improvements are included in this budget. For the department heads and elected officials, we have taken a good long look at past budgets for the past several years to see how much money is really being spent and how much money is being returned at the end of the year. I'll give credit to Commissioner Blue for creating a phrase that I've come very fond of, and that is budget culture. And for those of you that don't understand budget culture, basically what that is every department budgets for every possible contingency that could happen in the universe in the budget. And so every year, come September, our fiscal year ends September 30, we start having returns of funds that were budgeted that come back to us. And today, I can't project for you how much that money is going to come back next September, but we know it comes. And I sat out in those chairs for 2 years. I've been in this chair for 3 years, and we've watched this, and you told me it was a budget culture, and you were right. And we're trying to adjust for that. And so what I've done with some of the departments is we've gone and cut their budgets strategically, surgically, to what we think is actually enough for them to run their department because it's based on what they've been returning every year. So we've taken that into consideration. We're trying to tighten our budget culture to get it a little bit more accurate. I've also, because they do plan for every contingency, and I'm trying to not have to plan every year in the budget for every possible contingency, I am increasing our contingency fee fund to $250,000 so that we've got more money in the contingency fund for when some of those contingencies occur and not have a dedicated budget line item. So that we've got the ability to respond, but at the same time, and it's in the budget. And for those of you that don't understand the way the budget works, we can't increase this budget after we adopt it unless there are emergency circumstances. So that's why I'm increasing the contingency so that we've got some flexibility because we're not covering every single contingency in the budget. We've got a bigger contingency fund to be able to address it if it comes up. I'm also including a 1.5%, I'm calling it a wage adjustment for all Kirk County employees. We haven't really been faithful to an actual COLA through the years. And sometimes the COLAs come in very low and we actually give a little bit greater increase in that. Our sister counties neighboring us have gone to using straight percentages, and I've tried to incorporate a 1.5% increase across the board for our employees. I've also included in this budget the $174,000 that the salary study recommended that we adjust. So that's included in here. And we're still teetering at a balanced budget, including all those items.
That's adjusted downward or upward?
Upward. Nobody gets adjusted down.
Understands what-
Yeah, the whole purpose of the salary study was to make sure that we were competitive. And the good news is that we were competitive,
Oh,
much more
without a
competitive than we realized. But there were still some adjustments that needed to be made, both for grade and step, as well as some of our open range employees. And whatever those recommendations were in that salary study, I've incorporated them in my budget. dollar for dollar. And as I said, but for these capital items, we would have had a surplus budget. Now, when you look at my budget, those of you that look at it, some of you will understand these budgets. Looks like a bunch of numbers, but they mean something. At the end of next fiscal year, I'm planning for us to still have a very healthy fund balance, which would be a little over 30%, right at 31%. And the purpose for that is we don't know what FEMA's going to do, right, Doug?
No, sir.
We got about $1.7 million of road repairs out there that are emergencies that have to be done that we think FEMA should help us pay for, but there's no guarantee that they will. And so I want to make sure that we've got enough money in our fund balance to be able to fix Ranchero Road and Shepherd Reese. I think it would be irresponsible not for us not to plan on having that done, even if we have to pay for it. So I've included that. I'm happy to report that our income and fund balance is healthy, because this past year we received a little over $1.5 million from the federal government. You don't hear me say good things about the federal government often, but we got about $1.5 million under the CARES Act, and we anticipate more money from the federal government through the ARP, the American Rescue Plan. So things are looking remarkably good, unexpectedly good. And I don't know if that's, as I told Commissioner Harris earlier, I don't know if it's mask, social distancing, or just the good grace of God, but let me tell you, we've come through this coronavirus problem and this snowvid problem remarkably solvent. And so this is good news for the people. No tax rate increase, and we've got enough money to run county government for the common good. So that's my report.
Very good.
That takes a lot of work to get where you're starting there. So I appreciate that.
That's Tanya and James.
Oh, I know, but hats off to y'all.
Okay, with that, just wanted to get that out there for everybody to hear. Let's go to the first item on our agenda, which is item 1.1. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding a request for the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club for the use of Kerr County facilities, accommodations for equipment, and a room for monthly meetings. Commissioner Moser.
Thank you, Judge. I believe everybody has a copy of the proposal in their backup for the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club to use some facilities in the county. And what basically the facilities are, and Clay Lambert will elaborate on this, but it's a corner of the storage building out at the 5-star event center, okay? That they use to put their River Star, to be able to put their equipment in, and the other is a place to have a meeting once a month. But with that, looking at it as a cost benefit thing, so what are the benefits of what Clay is going to talk about, and that is to have amateur radio club communication is another layer of emergency communication within the county. That's basically what it is. So Clay's been talking to the sheriff, to Dub Thomas, and to 911 Mark Del Toro, and they'll probably speak to this, but they're in full agreement to this. So the benefits are another layer of communication in an emergency should the others fail, okay? And the cost it's going to be minuscule. It's going to be the corner of a building out there that Shane's looked at, Clay can describe. And also the other thing is a use one evening a month of Union Church at no cost to Hill Country Radio Club. So, Clay, fill in the details there.
Clay Lambert.
Thank you, Commissioner Moser. Do I need to state my address? Or?
No, we know you.
Yeah.
I'm currently the treasurer of the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club, and for the benefit of others here in the audience today, I'll share a very quick bit of information about radio amateurs and what we do. We have a history of providing communications during times of emergency. When the cables are down and everything else is down and the cell phones don't work, radio transmission is the one reliable source. We participate in a lot of different agencies to facilitate that communication, including local governments and their various departments. Many amateurs participate through the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, ARES, known as ARES, and that is where many of us amateurs will log our equipment and our capabilities and make that available to the local Aries communication controller, who then makes that available to other agencies in the case of emergencies. As a matter of fact, in 2017, there was an MOU signed between the local Aries operators in our club and the Red Cross. Hill Country Amateur Radio Club has been around for about 4.5 decades, and for much of the remainder or the latter part of that, we've been meeting at the Red Cross building on Earl Garrett in their classroom. But several years ago, we realized we outgrew that facility, standing room only. Not only that, but there's a small closet basically in there where we have our radio station, and it's really impossible to get the antennas and everything else that we need for effective communication in that location. So the nature of ham radio operators is to share knowledge and assist in others. In advance of this meeting, you've read some information there in detail that I've provided of how we helped a number of other folks in this area. As a matter of fact, our president, Bill here with the red shirt, lives in Medina, and he's in the process of working with volunteer fire departments up there to effect some better, more reliable emergency communications capabilities. So we're really into that sort of thing. So we come to you respectfully today, letting you know that we think we have a great portfolio. We've got over 3,000 man-years of experience in the club, but unfortunately now, we don't have a roof over our heads so that we can continue our mission. And so that's what we're asking for today, is a low-cost location, in this case, a Union Church, where we could meet for about 2.5 hours once a month. And then also a permanent location where we can house our station with equipment designed for both routine and emergency communications. And also it probably would be a location where we could conduct some training courses for the public that wants to learn more about and obtain an amateur radio license. At that location, we would need to erect a tower somewhere between 60 and 100 feet tall and populate that with the necessary antennas. And in the good spirit of the budgeting time, I want to make sure the commissioners know that we would do that at our own expense.
Wait, is that like a guide monopole, or what is it?
Now, this could be anything. It could be any number of different antennas. We have a vertical, but also we could have different beam antennas that could be directed and pointed in certain locations.
What's the main stick?
Pardon?
The main stick. What are you gonna fasten those to?
The tower?
Yeah.
Well, it could be a self-standing tower, or it may be a crank-up tower where you pour a concrete base and you can elevate the tower when you need it and access it.
Well, I'm asking about whether it needs guy wires to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How much space?
Yes, it probably would require some guy wires.
That it extends the amount of space. And fencing.
No, typically the way that you protect a tower is to take the first 15 feet or whatever, and you grill that and put locks and padlocks on there so that it's not climbable by the general public or anyone else.
We don't want one of those attractive nuisances.
Right.
Okay.
So with that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Why don't you describe the building out there? It's in Jonathan or Commissioner Harris can describe it. It's the storage building that was damaged during the rain and flood and so forth. It's being repaired. It hadn't been repaired yet. So I think that there's a separate room in there, as I understand it, that's...
There's a back corner, there's a room in the back corner that has separate stairs and a separate door that enters. You don't have to enter through the main door into the building.
So right now it's used for file storage or...
It was.
It was. It's really not used for anything right now. This is the old office for the arts and crafts.
Okay.
It's vacant at this time, and the carpet has been removed because of the water.
So the idea would be to set up your equipment permanently there. I mean, semi-permanently anyway.
Well, true, there is no such thing as permanent, is there? But
Right.
the fact is, when you get the equipment set up and with the special grounding that's needed and with a tower erected and antennas and all, that's not something you want to move every 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of effort and a lot of expense in that. So it would be as permanent as you would hope.
So Clay has looked at this with Shane, and it looks like from that standpoint, it's feasible. And I think Commissioner Harris and Commissioner Letts are saying, yeah, verily, that looks feasible also. And then the Union Church, use of that once a month, it's reduced cost for not-for-profits. So this would have to be a modification to the policy at Union Church to be able to let them use it at no cost. So that would have to be something that had to be taken care of.
It seems to me we probably need an MOU, which would be pretty simple, like a one-page document or something to outline what's needed.
Yeah, I talked to Heather, and there's Heather, and so I think a lease is appropriate.
Lease.
And so I think the follow-up to this, if it pleases the court, then prepare a lease, okay? Because we need to look at insurance and that kind of stuff. Make sure we're all squared away on that. And then put something in there, change the one-pager on Union Church or something to do that.
And
There's
I
some
think-
paperwork to be done.
Right. And the other thing is the tower.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
I just want to make sure that if there's guide wires, exactly where that's going to be, because that could impact the use of some of that property, because guide wires can be. I'd like to see it. We need a footprint of exactly
Right.
where that's going to be, where those wires, because they could go into the parking area pretty easily, and we can't afford to lose parking.
Exactly.
Sure.
So I don't know if a motion is appropriate here, but, because we can't approve anything, but at least it'd be a motion to move forward with preparing the details of how to implement something like this and bring the lease and the plans for the tower and the facility back to the court for approval.
I think you could make a motion subject to completing this feasibility study and final approval.
Okay, I will make a motion that we have a feasibility study to enable the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club to use the part of the storage building at 5 Star. River Star, and to modify the policy to enable them to use Union Church once a month for 3 hours in the evening,
And to be reviewed by the county attorney.
and to be reviewed by the county attorney, and for county attorney to prepare a lease to that end.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve a feasibility study for the use of Kerr County facilities by the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club to erect a tower and the use of Union Church. And all this is subject to final approval by the court and county attorney. Sorry for the conditions, we just got to take this a step at a time, Mike. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Shane, have you been out there with them? And where exactly you talking about putting that tower? I'd like to at least go out there with you and look it over.
With the tower, I don't know, but the office space that they're
Yeah.
going to use is on the west side of the building.
That's not a problem, but the tower part, I really want to look at.
Well, you're going to have to know the height of that tower.
Exactly,
before you know
and where the,
That would potentially be at the rear of the building.
Right.
There's quite a large triangle space back
So
there.
that's one of the things to put the definition on.
yeah,
Come back to
that,
the court.
that's what,
Right.
it hinges on that with me. Yes, sir.
There are several different options if we're talking towers, and we can bring those options to the court.
Good.
Okay. Good deal.
We're just trying to work out a
Sure.
collaborative relationship to get this thing done for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning too that some of the other nonprofits might question this, but this is because this can help us during emergency situations. That should be stressed, I think.
Oh, communication is one of our big deals during
It's
the
a weak
storm.
spot here.
It was terribly weak.
If there's anything we learned from the storm, it's that we need to be in communication.
I think Dub and the sheriff probably have something to
And
say.
just to kind of clarify about the communications part, we have a communications annex. It's part of our basic plan and 24 annexes. And Hill Country Amateur Radio Club is listed in that annex as a resource for us. Not only, I think it has RACES, which is,
Areas, yeah.
we have RACES listed in there, but they have an Aries group here. It's It's still emergency communication capability, so
It's part of the emergency management plan.
it's part of the emergency management plan, that's correct.
Right.
We want to find a way to make this work.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see, Sheriff.
Just real quick, yeah, like you said, Tom, I think that this would be a good added feature to have. I don't think we can have enough communications. Also, since I was in that every day, I think it'd be a real good tool to use. We've talked to Mr. Lambert about possibly putting them in our volunteer fire departments. We can look at that in the future as we want those to be our hubs in case we do lose communications. So I think it's a really good idea.
Good, thanks, Sheriff.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Hadn't seen 5 hands in one spot like that in a year.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scan the room.
Item 1.2, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the buy-board lease agreement with Quadient, formerly known as NeoPost, and authorize the county judge to sign the documents. Bob Rhodes.
Good morning, Commissioners, Judge. The county tax office currently has a postage machine from Quadient. The machine is used by my office as well as the county clerk's office, and on occasion, Road and Bridge, Engineering, and the Veteran Service Offices uses this. The rental of the equipment is divided evenly by thirds between the Elections Department, Tax Office, and County Clerk's Office. Our current lease will expire in June of this year. The new lease term will be for 5 years. The monthly lease payment is $265.19, which is $4.66 less than the current lease. Quadient is an approved vendor with Buy-Board. Buy-Board provides government-approved contracts, which have been pre-approved by competitive bidding process. The county attorney has reviewed and approved the lease agreement, and the county clerk concurs with the renewal of this lease since her office uses it. I respectfully request the court to approve the lease and authorize the county judge to sign the same.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Blue and seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the lease agreement with Quadient. Any other discussion?
Thank you for saving us $4.
I tried.
I know you do.
Is that in the budget?
If anybody can save us $1, Bob Reeves will do it.
Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Item 1.3, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve operational changes at the Kerr County Animal Services. Reagan Gibbons.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So I think in your backup, I had included a little bit of explanation here as to what I'm requesting. We were talking about in our advisory board meetings for a while some fee schedule changes, which there should be a copy of the fee schedule in there. The only thing that I've changed and added is some surrender fees. We have so many people surrendering animals. There's really no accountability as far as these people coming in and just dumping these animals off with us. We found out through the pandemic that appointments worked well. There was actually a lot of animals that didn't end up in our facility because of that. Having people make appointments, they had to go with other options sometimes. But at the same time, I don't like to turn animals away whenever people are in legitimate problems, whenever we are here to help. So the implementation of surrender fees, we have people that are willing to wait. They don't need an immediate surrender. And if they want to do that, we were talking about if they want to make an appointment, having the same fee as it is to adopt an animal. That way, it's not just a regular free dump off. It holds these people to some sort of, it takes money to surrender an animal. It makes it less desirable and less easy. We didn't really have a problem with this through the pandemic. We had a couple instances where animals were dumped because an appointment was set and it took some time for them to get in. But I don't think that's a real problem at this time. So basically this is kind of a trial. I want to see how this goes, see what we can accomplish with it. But Appointments, if you set an appointment, it's going to cost you $50. We get a lot of people that come in that need to do this right then and there. If you're an immediate walk-in, then per animal is $100 because we don't know the situation. But if you are that desperate to get rid of that animal right at that time, then it's going to cost a little extra.
Reagan, do you think there would be people that will look at that at $100 and just abandon the animal and walk away from it, and then you're going to have to go out and capture it and
that's been a concern.
No cost?
That's been a concern. Yes. Yeah. Like I say, we haven't had much issue with that. I thought it was going to be a huge problem, especially with the appointments that we set when we locked the front door through the pandemic. But we really didn't have an issue that we're aware of. We did, like I said, we did have a couple instances where we'd have people get upset, leave, threaten to dump an animal. We actually did find the animal later. That happened a couple of times.
Right.
Overall, the committee's been pushing this for at least 6 months. They feel that there are advisory board. They feel that there are other options, and by the fact that we just take animals with not making them either spend some money or take some time, that people will find the other options most time. And majority of the time, they'll either find other option or pay the money. Very rare will they dump the animal, and that the benefits to making the public use the other options outweighs the few people that decide to dump
So
the
advisory board really recommends.
Yes, they've been pushing this for.
I'd say longer than 6 months.
Longer than 6 months, at least 6 months.
Okay, all right.
So there's different fees here, which you can see. Basically, immediate walk-in per animal is $100. If you've got a litter, the first animal with an appointment is $50, and then every animal after that is $25. And then litters, first animal walk-in is the $100, and then 2 animals or more is $50 per animal.
Reagan, I like the way you've incentivized responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
If people can get an appointment and be responsible with their surrenders, it looks like it's a win-win for everybody. And for those that are not, and we understand there are some that will be irresponsible, but we have to try to provide for those for the benefit of the public anyway.
Yes, sir. And another thing I've done too, just so the court's aware, I've been doing this for several years now, but anybody who surrenders an animal over there, if you don't have a really desperate good reason, then you go on a do not adopt list. We won't ever adopt an animal to you again. There's been a lot of people put on those lists. So,
Reagan, on your fee schedule, you have one category called dangerous dog fees.
Yes.
What's the definition of a dangerous dog?
I don't have it right in front of me, but it's going to be.
Is it illegal?
It's a state law.
Oh, it's a state law.
Yes.
That's enough of that. Okay, good. Thank you.
Usually it's a dog that's bitten somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
But in short.
There's different requirements for it.
Reagan, I have a question
Yes, sir.
about the average duration of an animal that is at the facility and the costs that are incurred.
About how long do we have each one?
About how much do we spend on the average dog, say, or cat? What are our costs to keep them until the Pets Alive group comes and gets them?
Yes.
Or until they get adopted, which is, one has to come before the other.
Yes, sir. Well, since we were allowed to have an adoption coordinator, that has all gone down substantially. She works diligently daily to get these animals out. Honestly, if we have an animal that's been surrendered, that animal a lot of times is going out within a day or two. The ones, of course, that are strays that have a 72-hour hold, we have to keep those. I haven't figured up any costs as far as what man hours and things like that. We don't really spend a whole lot of money on the animal while it's there, other than the man hours for cleaning, because a lot of times our food is donated. We don't buy a whole lot of food, and water. Volunteers get the animals out a lot for get them some exercise and things like that. So it's not a whole lot, but it just really depends on how long they're there, obviously. But I can say we've been getting them out of there at a substantially higher rate since the adoption coordinator was able to be hired.
Well, I asked that because the surrender fee sounds high. I don't think we incur that kind of expense to house an animal. I just think that I'm not against the idea. I think it's a good idea.
Right.
But I think if it's not priced right, if the price point is not good, we run the risk of people dumping animals for.
I agree.
So I would like for us to look at that a little longer and see if we can come up with something that.
Would you like me to go back on before we implement any kind of fees? Would you like me to, do you recommend discussion more in our advisory board meeting?
Well,
Because that's been something that I didn't know. I wanted everybody's opinion on to see what everybody thought was reasonable. And it's hard to know what exactly is most reasonable.
but obviously your advisory board has looked at all these numbers and everything, and this is basically coming from them and
Yes.
you, I would think.
Yeah. And
I trust.
That's beforehand.
I can tell you that I thought they were a little bit high. Because just given the situation, a lot of the folks we're dealing with aren't going to have some of this money. So, but there's also, try it, see how that goes.
You gotta start
and then-
someplace.
And then if we need to go down, we can.
Then you could always tweak it.
Well, the thought is this: if I have a dog that's tearing things up, digging out of the yard and all that, I'd be willing to pay $100 to get rid of him, maybe. But if my mama passed away and I'm stuck with her 12-year-old dog, maybe not.
But an appointment, if you.
It's $100 to take that thing down there.
No, it's $50.
Well,
to
that's
make
an
appointment.
immediate.
Okay.
If you make
So
an
if I just
appointment.
drive down there and they say make an appointment, I'll save myself $50.
Right.
Okay.
I like that part of it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I
But
still
if-
think it's kind of high. That's my opinion.
I mean, we can lower, I think, the concept definitely is a good concept, but
Yeah.
we need to lower the fee a little bit.
I think try it like it is, we can always tweak it later.
Yeah, I'm with Commissioner Harris. I think we ought to go ahead and implement it and just request that Reagan go back to the advisory board and have them review
Watch
these
it.
numbers and report back to us after they've sharpened their pencil and considered everything, what their recommendations are to us. We can always
Just want to
revise
see
these.
people, as a guy who lives out in the sticks and sees animals just show up, it happens. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see that either, and that's why for a long time I was against this. But we really did learn through the pandemic that some of the things that I thought were going to happen didn't. And so I figured this was worth a shot, and just to see what we can do.
And I want to listen to the recommendations from the public when they're working on these boards, come back and give us some input. To me, it's important for us to give some credence to their opinions about this thing.
The other, Ray, why don't you go over the other item, the hour change?
Yes, sir. So this was something that I brought. This was something that I brought to the advisory board last time, which, as you know, when we talk about schedule changes and what we did, I guess probably a year and a half ago, whenever we moved to, we did away with Saturday hours, kind of as a compromise. We changed our Tuesday and Thursday hours from 8 to 5 with we didn't have a lunch. There was no lunch hour at the time. So we got a lunch hour back for the staff, which I think that was a good thing. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the guys would work from 9 to 1. Lunch was from 1 to 2, and then they would work from 2 to 6. What we found is all year long, our busiest times of the day is morning. That's whenever most of our phone calls are coming in. I included in your backup there some incoming missed calls. This is just from a week. But you can see from, now to keep in mind, please, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's 8 to 1, and then 2 to 5. So our lunch hour shifted. From 8 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this is from February 2nd, February 4th. We had 26 calls from 8 to 9 when nobody was there to answer the phone, okay? And then 22 that Thursday. That same day, from 5 to 6, we had 1 phone call and 2 that Thursday. So 3 as opposed to 48 missed calls and messages. As I said, our busiest time is in the morning, and that's when I really need people there.
Sure.
You would think that over time, the general public would have adjusted to some of this, but everybody's still upset. Everybody's upset almost daily because our lunch hour is from 1 to 2. You can also see the 1 to 2. You can see that they're, and like I say, this is just an example. This is just a couple of days, but 5 missed calls or 5 incoming calls that were answered from 12 to 1 when they're there, and then 1 on that Thursday, and then when they're at lunch, we had 11 and 6. So we get a lot of calls. There's always people that show up there. They don't understand why we're closed from 1 to 2 and not from 12 to 1. It just really hasn't worked out like it was thought. Sure. And nothing really happens at that office from 5 to 6. It's really, as far as paying employees and time goes, it's really a waste of time, to be honest.
This is one where the old schedule was recommended by the advisory board, and Reagan went along with trying to figure out adjustment, and it didn't work like they had hoped. At one point, we had no lunch hour, and Reagan found that our employees couldn't eat it all because their people kept on coming in. So
that was cruel and unusual.
Yeah. And this was, Reagan went over this with the last advisory board.
Once I explained it, everybody agreed that was.
They agreed that it didn't work. We made a change. We made some adjustments. It didn't improve things. It made it a little bit worse. So let's go back to more standard schedule. I don't know that the hour change is something that we really need to approve before. The fee schedule is something that I think we do because all other fees we do. But I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the new fee revised, or the new fee schedule is revised, and the change in operational hours.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the recommended changes and fee schedule.
One other point I just wanted to make real quick on is this will not affect the agreement with the city of Kerr at all. It'll actually help our service improve for them.
Discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. And report back to your advisory board that we appreciate their hard work, and we would like them to stay on top of these fees and give us any updated recommendations.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, don't leave, is 1.4. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a copier lease agreement with Xerox, the Kerr County Animal Services Department. Megan Gibbons.
Yes, sir. This is just our Xerox lease agreement. We're coming to the end of the 48-month agreement that we had before. We're needing a new machine, which they've proposed there was 2 options, both of which are cheaper than what we had already. One of them is going to save us money as far as having a color machine. It's going to save us money because we do have to print a lot of color photographs. It's going to save us a lot of money in ink on another printer that we're having to use. And all this is at it's going to go from $78.79 a month down to $62.14 a month with a better machine. So I think it's an all-around better.
Move for approval.
Second.
You saving more than the tax assessor, by the way.
Yes. Go down there and tell Bob you saved us more money.
That's what I was thinking when you said that. But
We'll have a competition. That's what we need.
and there is something for you to sign, Judge. That.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
This is not the appropriate time to do this, but I can hook on to what you just said. During the budget process, perhaps we ought to look again at having a countywide policy on, or agreement on, copiers and printers. Seems to me like we probably have 50 or 60 in the county, and I bet there's money to be saved.
Oh, there is.
By doing that. Not here, okay?
Yeah.
Go forward with that, but,
We had an opportunity to look at that a couple of years ago.
yeah.
Well, it seems like every time somebody comes in with something new like this, we're saving money. Man, we must have started way up here. We keep whittling
But
it
if you
down.
can lump them all together, you may save a lot more.
You bet.
Okay, all right.
Okay, you seconded that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Blue, to approve the lease copier agreement, the copier lease agreement for animal control, animal services. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 5-0. Very good. 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to accept the bank depository contract and have the county judge sign same. Tracy Solder. Yes, ma'am.
I believe you have the contract with our depository. I would like to request that the court authorize the county judge to sign the contract based on or pending some changes that I'm requesting the bank to make to some of our account documents that for opening new accounts.
Which I'm sure they will be happy to do.
And this is, speaking of happy, this is with Happy Bank.
Yes,
Happy
sir.
statement.
Good.
Having a little fun. We got to break it up a little bit.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the bank depository agreement with Happy State Bank.
With some,
And subject to her revisions. Recommendation.
there's a second right already. Is that a question?
Yeah. Second.
Is there an attachment that goes over all of the details? And this seems very general to me, and there was a lot of, when they bid it, there was no charge, all that stuff. Is that an exhibit to it so that they're bound to stay by that?
There's an exhibit in the RFP that they sent to us, and I believe the contract, I don't have it in front of me, says no fees in it.
Right. It just seems to me that all of that, that the contract should include the details, and that they could be included in revisions if you're gonna make.
So
Yes, I
was
can
it a
request that.
boilerplate example, or was it a contract?
That's a contract.
Okay.
This is the contract.
It's a contract, but the contract doesn't refer to some of the details.
Yeah. So is that what's gonna be changed?
No, but I can. I did request, there were a couple of changes that they did make on my request to the contract. The changes I'm requesting now refer to like signature cards when you're opening an account.
All I'm asking is that the submittal that they put in
The
be
rate.
attached.
Why don't we just attach a copy of their schedule?
Right, to the fee schedule.
Right.
That way, if there's any question, we'll go back to the schedule.
Right.
Okay.
Their fee schedule that they've sent to me is generic for every customer, and they're waiving them for us. So I don't know that the fee schedule would be good.
Well, the
but-
fee schedule,
Well, the attachment to their bid is what.
yeah, the
Yes.
attachment to the bid.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, so I forgot who made the motion.
Me.
And
Second.
second. The motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the depository agreement. Any further discussions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.6, consider, discuss, and take the appropriate action to approve position schedule for the 198th District Attorney's Office. Ms. Goss.
Good morning. Just bringing the revised salaries and the position schedule before you for approval for the 198th DA.
How does this compare to the 216?
Apples and oranges.
Right. And I don't, yeah.
And it really has to do more with non-legal personnel, or substantially more than 198 than 216.
What are the changes exactly, Jennifer? Or what are the differences from what we
Well,
currently
from the prior fiscal year, he hired 2 new legal assistants, and so started those out at the step 1. So those salaries were decreased, and he basically spread those to the assistant DAs and the investigator, and there was a net change of $0.
And some of those changes were made before this attorney took office.
Right, correct.
They were made under
Right.
Scott.
Boy, in fact, I remember the day.
But this piece of it just hadn't happened yet. And
So this is just to get what's currently being done in paper. I'm right. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the position schedule as presented for the 198th District Attorney's Office. Any discussion?
Just a question. But there will be another one, hopefully down the road, that will have ranges and things of that for, and there's another step that we've been talking about to get a more equity.
Correct. Hopefully that will happen during the budget process.
Okay.
And you're not just talking about details, you're talking about comparison.
Okay.
So for clarification, this is on the agenda. Help me, Jennifer, understand why.
Because some of these positions are at a different rate than were originally approved in prior year's budget position schedule. There were some changes, so we're just getting these new revised salaries approved.
All right.
This is all part of a cleaning up process with our district attorney's offices, prosecutors, and
I
the
understand.
public defender's office, which we'll have later on the agenda.
This is catch-up cleanup.
Well, and one of the lessons learned in all of this is that we need to make sure that the positions, the job descriptions have been approved for each one of these offices, because the duties are different among the different prosecutors, and that the salary position has been approved by the court. It's a two-step process. We have to approve the job description, and we have to approve the actual salary position. And so what this is to memorialize or codify where we are today as we speak in that office. Now, with the salary study, when we get into the budget process, we've got some step and grade recommendations, but then we also have these open ranges. And with these attorneys, especially where we're talking about maybe we create 3, 4, 5 different grades of attorney, and they'll be within a range, maybe $10,000 or $15,000 range there. And so that's what we're working toward, and that I expect to see in our budget workshops here in just a couple of months.
Gotcha.
I'm looking at my auditor. We're right? Good. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to approve it as presented. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Doss.
Sure.
She's one more, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. 1.7, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a leave time extension for road and bridge employees due to the seal coat season. Ms. Doss.
Yes, employees are required to bring their vacation balance down to 160 hours at the end of every September. However, this is during their busy seal coat time, and in an effort to alleviate the burden to the other employees, we're just asking for the road and bridge group that their cutoff be December 31st to get their vacation balance down to 160.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve the extension of the lead time for road and bridge during the seal coat season.
I'm surprised we haven't done that before. It's a good change.
And this is a one-time, and the reason is there is a budget impact and it costs us more to do this, but this is more just for the record so other departments don't come and start asking for the same thing. Road and Bridge during the winter storm event had a lot of their employees that some were working and some were not working, and they were both being paid the same, and to solve that, those that were working got an extra day off. So they all of a sudden received to have a lot more vacation or off time than normal, and to allow Kelly to complete her seal coat program.
So still, a seal coat program is dictated by
the weather.
Right.
But this is cumulative off of the snowstorm.
Right. Sure, I
Because-
understand. Two contributing
So
factors.
I was hoping that we could just do this every year, because every year the seal coat season is the same
Yeah,
time of
that's,
year.
that was my
So I
point.
think
It
that
seemed
was
like
what
we
Kelly and I
should have
had
done before.
in mind. Kelly?
And it
That's
is,
what Kelly
the
did.
last 3 Memorial Days in the month of May. I don't know if it'll be the same this year, we could use the rain, but we've had times where we've lost 6 weeks in that front part, and it's a five-month window of opportunity. And then you hit that September, and it usually affects the employees that earn the 13.34 a month. And some of those employees have lost time because they're trying to get seal coat done. And so we run into this. I mean, this year is even worse, like Jonathan said, with the ice storm. But this is a problem every year for us, trying to get this time used up. And I think it would benefit the public by us having full staff in September there to finish the SILCO program.
Well, I think everybody knows that September is the fourth month of summer in Texas. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then a certain temperature, they have to quit,
Yes.
okay?
But that's
We
rarely in September.
generally, last day of September
Agreed.
is usually when we
Right.
quit. We have shot as late as the first and partway through the second week in October, but that ground temperature starts to drop at the end of September.
So let's look at doing this permanently at some point. Yeah.
Right.
But the motion today is to do it for this year. Is that right?
I didn't make, did I make the motion?
No, Moser did it.
Yeah, I made the motion, but I thought it was just for this year. But if it's for permanent, I'd still
Well,
make the motion.
Jonathan, I would recommend that it be permanent, but what,
Okay,
we'll take
I'll
what
make
we
a
can
motion
get.
that this be, that the annual be permanent for the proposed.
Seal coat season.
Correct, right.
Because I think it's worded
To carry over the
broadly
vacation.
enough just to apply to seal coat season, which we all know continues into September every year.
Okay,
I mean, I'm okay with it, but it does have a budget impact. It costs us more to do it this way.
right.
It's always subject to weather, everything road and bridge does, so you're gonna have good and bad years. It's gonna even out, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, item 1.8. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the lease and maintenance agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Doing good.
Yes, sir. Okay, Court, I'd like the court to consider approving a lease and maintenance agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management. This agreement will replace 7 patrol Tahoes and 14 unmarked units, which comprises of about a third of our fleet. Kirk County Sheriff's Office is in a unique position with $384,000 being approved on last year's budget that we can use towards this maintenance program. In addition to that, KCSO will be selling 21 of these vehicles if this is passed to be able to put back into the lease program. KCSO, the Auditor's Office, County Attorney, and Enterprise Fleet Maintenance have spent several hours preparing this package for y'all, so y'all should have a package in detail explaining all this. I do have Sergeant Gage, who headed up the program for us. I also have Simon Artiega here. He's a senior fleet consultant here to answer any questions y'all may have. In your packet, you should have a couple of reference letters from, I believe, the city of Kerrville, the city of Fredericksburg, kind of explaining how the program works and has been beneficial to them. I just recently learned that the city of Bernie joined in, and we do have several other departments that have joined in. When I attended the new sheriff's conference, this is kind of a new way a lot of county and city agencies, governments are working towards. It has improved vastly in the last 5 to 6 years. So with that being said, I have Simon here, I have Scott Gage here to answer any questions you have in reference to this.
Go ahead.
The only question I have is that if we wanted to add other departments or other during the budget process, is it set up that we can do that, or do we have to go back to square one?
Short answer, yes, you can do that.
Please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. My name is Simon Ortega. I'm with Enterprise Fleet Management. Thank you for having me today. But Commissioner Letts, yes, the answer is we can easily just add additional departments as needed. There's no
Get you in touch with that department and.
correct.
Now, if that happens, are there staggered start dates and so on, or does it all come under an umbrella?
Correct. So each vehicle is on its own schedule. So depending on lead times from the manufacturers and delivery times, we help you manage when you want these vehicles in service.
In our previous discussion, this seemed like a really good move as far as maintenance, tracking the vehicles, the value at the end of the period. It's got to be a money saver.
Well, let me say that our auditor's office has done a marvelous job of going through and analyzing this lease and worked with Enterprise on it. And they've accommodated a lot of the requested changes and clarifications that we needed. At the end of the day, this is a good program. I met extensively with James and Tanya on this thing. But I can't tell you that we're going to save a whole lot of money. Some of the numbers we looked at last time didn't exactly pan out, but they still pan out.
But it's in
But not as
budget.
big.
It's within budget.
Right.
It's within budget.
So that's the main thing.
And the auditor's office and I have gone through it, and I personally recommend this. I included it in my budget, that $190,000 that I'm including in this coming fiscal year's budget is to accommodate this very thing, and I've visited with the sheriff about that to let him know that we are in a position to be able to implement this program. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be some windfall that we're saving 50% of what we're spending. It's still good, but it's just not as big as we thought it might be.
I go into these things very cautiously, and what I like is our neighbors that are using this have responded with very positive input as far as their dealings with them and everything. So that goes a long way, rather than just hearing from a salesman. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. It sounds good when somebody else has dealt with you and has positive things to say.
So, in the sheriff's budget, this is about the vehicle itself, but you still have to outfit every vehicle. Is that a different?
That is included in there.
That's included in this, okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the lease program with Enterprise Fleet Management as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the lease and maintenance agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management as presented. Is there any other discussion?
I just want to clarify, this means when a vehicle is delivered here, it's got all the equipment you need in it, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
That's what it means, okay.
And going back from last time we spoke, when you spoke to us over the phone, there will be somebody assigned to us. Explain that a little bit.
Correct. Excuse me. So you'll have assigned a client strategy manager, which will meet with you quarterly, annually throughout your budget season. Very similar to the City of Fredericksburg, City of Bernie, Gillespie County, as well as City of Kerrville. So he also manages their account, if you will. He would be the same person that you would work with.
Okay.
And he would be the whole county if we were to add other departments, same guy would be there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
I want to thank the court. I think it'll really be payoff for us.
Well, I want to thank you because there was a lot of work done behind the scenes before we got to this point.
Yeah, sure. Enterprise was very helpful in working with us and responding to our questions.
So we look forward to this upgrade.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it is a little past 10. We've got, I think, about a half a dozen or more timed items. We're going to come back and pick up 1.9 after time.
Judge, if I may, I'm going to postpone 1.9.
Okay, pass. So we will take a 5-minute break and come back we'll come back at 10:15. Court will come to order. First timed item, I see Charlie's already in place. 1.10, public hearing for a revision of plat for the Mostly Pecan Grove Subdivision Lot 1. I convene the public meeting will come to order. Is there anyone who would like to address the court on this issue?
Mostly Pecan Grove? Judge, there's no one in the hallway for this item.
Then I will adjourn the meeting, and we will move on to item 1.11, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize the county judge to execute a change order to substitute a 2-course chip seal in lieu of a prime coat with no net change in contract price for the 2021 road reconstruction projects in precincts 1 and 3. Charlie Hastings.
Judge and Commissioners, the 2021 road reconstruction project consists of reconstruction of the following roads: Westway Drive, Tree Lane, Roy Street, Jonas Drive, and Low Ranch Street. Bids were opened and awarded in January 2021 to Edmund Jinsky Incorporated in the amount of $236,290.85. Construction began April 12th on Low Ranch Street and has proceeded to Roy Street as of April 21st. And they're still there today on Roy. They should be rounding the corner and going up Jonas soon. The original scope of work is for the contractor to remove the existing seal coat surface and 6 inches of base material, then reconstruct the road with 6 inches of new base material and apply an asphalt cement prime coat. Kirk County Forces would then apply a 2-course chip seal to finish the job at a later date, weeks later. The contractor has concerns that application of a prime coat might have a negative effect on any vehicles that need access during the application, as it takes at least an hour to cure before it can be driven on, and has therefore offered to apply a 2-course seal coat instead of the prime coat at the same price as the prime coat, provided that Kirk County supplies the asphalt, cement, and paving rock. The Road and Bridge Department finds this arrangement to be very favorable, since they already have the work scheduled and the oil and rock on order. They merely need to coordinate delivery to the contractor's yard. In summary, this change order would avoid prime coat oils tracking on vehicles, save labor efforts from county forces, advance the construction completion date by 3 to 4 weeks, and there would be no change in the contract price. The county engineer requests the court authorize the county engineer to prepare a change order for the county judge to execute with Edmund Jinsky Incorporated, whereby the county provides oil and rock materials and Edmund Jinsky provides the labor and equipment to apply a 2-course chip seal in lieu of a prime coat with no net change in the contract price for the 2021 road reconstruction project, precincts 1 and 3.
I move for approval. I've talked to Charlie about this, and the only thing I'd add is that the change order needs to be run through the county attorney's office.
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the proposed change from a prime to 2 seal coat applications. And for those that don't know, when I first saw these streets, I didn't know where they were. They're actually, I would say, in the city of Kerrville, but not, because they've never accepted those streets, so they're still in the county, and it's like this little oasis that we have to take care of here in the city.
We have a few of those.
It's across from the old Tybee High School.
Right.
Is where it is. Bizarre.
One behind the hospital. Right.
But we were talking earlier, you learn something every day in this job.
Judge, it would be fabulous if sometime later we could have a conversation with the city about possibly doing some swapping. Since these roads are going to be brand new, fresh, they're going to be 100%, maybe it'd be a good time to swap some maintenance. Kind of like what we did with Ingram. Very easy process. They don't have to annex. We just simply have to say we're not going to maintain anymore, and we would like something from the city council that says we're going to maintain. It's really simple.
We've talked about.
Remind me to do that. We'll set that meeting.
Yes, sir.
That needs to happen.
Yeah.
Charlie, you're not going to talk about the gas line, bro?
Okay, it's not on the agenda.
Okay. Though it's on the same roads.
But it is on Roy, and it got handled very professionally and very fast.
And it's in Kirk County.
We should do that during the information agenda or status reports from department heads.
Okay. We'll defer that.
Okay.
So we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion about this item?
I'm sorry, Judge, to interrupt. Who had the second?
I did.
Moser?
And so is this a proposed change order, or you're executing a change order?
It's a change order that the county engineer and the county attorney will prepare for the judge to sign.
So it be brought back for?
No,
No.
it will not be brought back to the
All
court.
right, thank you.
Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item 1.12. Larry Bocacio, a presentation by the Texas Association of Counties Risk Management for the Kerr County Safety Award. Come forward, Larry. Good to see you.
This is Xerox.
How is everybody?
Good. Good to have you back.
I'll tell you, it's good to be back. I was telling Jennifer, I said, this is my third road trip since March 13th of last year. So.
Oh, heck.
Well, you weren't here at the beginning, but this is the first time all 5 of us have been at this bench in over a year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I love it. I was at West Texas Judges and Commissioners last week in Odessa. And of course, I walked in with my mask on, and I looked around and I went, nobody's wearing a mask. Guess where this thing's going? So I took it off. You know, I was thinking, and of course I've got the press release here and all that good stuff, but I'm going to ad lib. So I deal with 62 counties. Victor and I and David Whitus, law enforcement, and Sharon, who's our new HR person. Out of my 62 counties, I don't have a county other than you guys that are as consistent with employee safety and earning safety awards, period. So here's another one. This is, I lost count, to be honest with you. I really don't know. And folks, these things don't come cheap. You have to have a loss ratio on the workers' comp side of less than 0.65. So that's less than 65%. Historically, y'all's has been at least that, if not less. And I just want to congratulate you and say thank you, because that's money that the taxpayers save not spending on workers' comp insurance to keep somebody unsafe. So it's big money, yeah. So we've kind of snazzied them up a little bit, and that's the new one.
Good.
Well, Larry,
Yep.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All you do.
Do you want to do a photo op?
Sure.
Or?
Sure.
Sure.
Judge, I need to address this real quick, if you don't mind.
Come on, Charlie.
No, you can't. You can't
So-
talk this about.
Well, I'm a licensed professional engineer, and I've been evaluating the wall over there that's holding me. And I believe we're going to need to hire a structural engineer to come in and inspect the structural integrity, because there's one more after this, and I've got concerns.
I'm a structural engineer, it's okay.
There you go. There you go.
Well, we really need to give credit to our.
End at that right there.
We need to give credit to our department heads.
Absolutely.
And elected officials. This could not be done if they were not on top of their.
You're 100% right, Judge. And since COVID is gone, let's hope, I'm ready to get back in the training mode and do some training at Road and Bridge and
We're all going down?
see what we can accomplish.
Come on, Kirk. You got it?
You go first,
Okay.
Don't ask one.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't do this on the job.
You didn't do that on the
That was a
job.
damn sidewalk up there.
City sidewalk.
Yeah, city sidewalk.
How do you do this?
City sidewalk.
Go ahead.
I'll be on the side.
You gotta be in the middle.
There we go.
Okay.
How's that?
I'll share that with
You're welcome.
It's always good to see you.
You too, Judge.
Thanks, Larry.
Absolutely, 100%. You're welcome.
Don't come cheap, I was afraid of Larry, for the record, is there a particular department that shines?
And this is not just because you're here.
It's not my department, that's why I asked.
I hate that kind of bullshit.
When I get a call from one of those other 62 counties about how to do something, guess who I forward it to?
All right.
Kelly.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if she doesn't know the answer, she'll ask me and we'll get the answer. But that's what I do. And y'all's road and bridge department is excellent. So keep it up. You're welcome.
Larry, enjoy your beautiful ride home.
I'm actually going to go do some work.
Good.
I don't want to go back to Austin yet.
You want that match?
No, I'll throw it away.
Okay, I think we're right on time.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is 1.13. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to appoint Judge Kelly as the liaison to the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. We've got 3 topics on here. We'll go through them in quick order. I put this on the agenda mainly because we are learning how to run this office. And for those of you that don't know, we've got the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office is a 5-county public defender's office that is headquartered here in Kirkland. It is a department of Kerr County. And there will also be, there's an office in Hondo for Medina County. It's Medina, Bandera, Gillespie, Kendall, and Kirk. And we applied for a grant. Y'all remember all that process. But what we're learning is if this is where the public defender's office is, and right now they're temporarily office out at the juvenile probation offices, there is an oversight board that we established for that PDO. And that is made up of 11 people, 2 from each county except Kirk County that has 3. And Commissioner Letts and I serve on that board, and Judge Williams is the chairman of the board. And so you've got PDO and an oversight board. But if you'll remember, we had our own countywide committee because this is the second largest department that we have in the county now. We'll have 31 employees by the time it's fully staffed, and second only to the sheriff's office. So this is a big responsibility. And we were trying to have it earlier, but we did have our very first quarterly meeting of the oversight board here just, a little over a week ago. Something like that. And we're trying to figure out the relationships between each of us. And one of the things that I'm learning in working with John Bull and Elizabeth Berry is we need more liaising than once a quarter. And I'm not saying this is a daily thing or a weekly thing necessarily, but I don't know if y'all know, we do have reports from liaison positions every 2 weeks before the court at our regular meetings. And it's important for the Kerr County to stay on top of where we are with all of this. And the office is doing very well. In fact, John, if you want to make it's not officially on the agenda, but if you want to kind of give us a snapshot of where we are, we're very impressed with it, but we're trying to learn how to manage this. And we've had a couple of issues come up that we're going to take on separate agenda items here, one on IT and one on travel, that we've had to work through. And we've got everything worked through. It's all good. This is just really at this point, we need to establish an official liaison position with the office so that we can report on it on a regular basis. And then we need to address these 2 issues. One is an IT and one is a travel. So no alarms, just things that we need to do.
A couple of comments, and I agree with Judge Kelly. I'll make a motion in a minute to have him liaison, but I also asked I'd be the alternate or second liaison, however you want to call it on that, just because of the relationship. But I also would like to, really encourage. I went out to the office and met a lot of the folks last week. I think it was last week. I'd encourage, because it is a department, for everyone on the court to go out and familiarize themselves, with the staff out there. A lot of new employees. Anyway, but I think this is a good thing to do, and I'll make a motion to appoint Judge Kelly as liaison and myself as the alternate or second liaison to that department.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser, to appoint Commissioner Letts and I to be liaisons for the Public Defender's Office here in Kerr County. Any discussion? John, we want to welcome your discussion. Anything you'd like to discuss with us before we vote on this?
No, I think the last time I talked to y'all, we were almost at 400 cases. We're at 700 cases now. We were contacted by Kendall County last week about taking a couple of appeals. We have 8 full-time attorneys now, got most of the support staff positions filled. We still have a lot more attorneys that we're onboarding over the next few months. I think I told you the last time, all the judges and courts have been really supportive about sending us cases and getting us on board. So, and we're really excited. We're moving forward. One of my personal heroes was Chuck Yeager, and he used to say that the cockpit rattled the most right before you break the sound barrier, and so the rattling's slowing down some, and I think we're just about at that point. So, and what we're doing today, and with Judge Kelly and Commissioner Letts, this is going to be good. So we're really looking forward to it.
PDO is a great thing. I think I forgot what we projected the savings to the Kerr County would be.
If it's fully staffed,
300,000, 700,000, or something like that.
300 some odd thousand.
Yeah, per year. How would we, at the end of the first year, be able to say, this is what we estimate was saved over the old way of doing it without a PDO?
Well, we have the quarterly reports we're required to file pursuant to the grant. And we have to list the number of cases we're appointed on, the dispositions of the cases, things like that. You can get a pretty good gauge just based on the number of cases.
Yeah.
So if I tell you right now, we've already been appointed on 700 cases. If you do the math on what your average court-appointed cases would pay on that, that's a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Just historically, in the past, this is what it costs per case. I know it varies, but it'd be really good metric to be able to see something like that at the end of a year.
The other advantage is because we really want to maximize the funds from the grant that we're getting from Austin. So those court-appointed fees would be coming straight out of your, I guess, general fund or however you're paying it. And right now, just to say on staff salaries and things like that, Austin's picking up 80% of that cost.
Right.
This year.
Yeah, this year, and then there's adjustments. I think, and we'll talk about that another time, about since there was kind of not a lot of activity that first quarter because I didn't come on board till January, and I think we'll probably have that discussion with TIDC about whether we extend that first year at least for a quarter.
It'd be really interesting just to get and I know it's going to be an estimate, but here's what's been saved by doing it. We did that with Veteran Service Officer. We said, okay, we'll try it, and there was a potential to bring in more revenue to the county by bringing more benefits to the veterans, which is a win-win. And so we try to track that metric of how much has been additional revenue has been brought into the county, and therefore more money to the taxpayers as a result of that. So I think this PDO is going to be a big savings. So some feel for what that'd be would be very interesting.
Okay. And then they keep excellent numbers and work closely with the auditor. And I have every confidence that once we get some more of this under our belt, we're going to be able to crunch out some of those analyses for you.
Good.
Because I think it's going to be pretty impressive.
I think it will be super impressive.
And all the savings don't come just to Kirk County, this is a cooperative, so you're talking about our portion of it.
Our portion.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I would add, there's a preview of issue to come. This thing has exploded and has grown a lot faster than what we really anticipated, and we now are running out of space over at the juvenile detention facility, such that we're looking for temporary office space. We're still on target, it looks like, for a closing on June 30 on 550 Earl Garrett. We're eager and anxious to get them up there housed in the building, but we may need to get some temporary office space just to be able to put bodies, because this is really expanding. So we need to have
Got a motion and a second.
You got a motion and a second. Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. The next issue on there is 1.14. That is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to establish a travel policy for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. This came up through the Auditor's Office, and I think Ms. Berry actually, I think she wrote the policy, I'm not sure, but it was an email attached to your email. And we tweaked it a little bit to be consistent with what we're doing in the other departments and offices. And just so that, to remind everybody, our tradition has been not to pay mileage for in-county transportation. So But this is moving, when you're moving from Kerr County to Bandera County, you get reimbursed. When you're moving from Kendall County to Hondo to Medina County, you get reimbursed for that. You just don't get anything in the county where you're.
So from the county line to where you're going, is that what you're saying?
No, it's from courthouse to courthouse, but.
Point A to point B.
But we're not gonna try to do county lines. I mean, my gosh, that'd be.
Well, if you go by, you're not gonna pay within the county, but you're gonna pay
Unless
outside
your
the county.
destination is outside the county.
Correct. Okay.
Which is what we do right now.
That's understandable.
Same as for all of the departments off.
It should be.
School districts are that way.
So is this is consistent with travel policy for reimbursement for the rest of the county?
Yes.
We sort of don't have an actual policy for the county, which we'll be coming back at another time. We have a unwritten policy that we've been following, but we are working and we'll be bringing back a actual policy for everybody else. But the PDO needs it.
Okay. This is an opportune way for us to get it started.
Okay.
And they wrote an excellent policy. And the other thing that I would point out is no one gets compensated from their home to the office.
Right. Okay.
Just like you would expect.
Sure.
And Heather, we just follow the state
So it's
rate
consistent with our
guidelines on
unwritten
mileage.
policy.
Our tradition is that.
All right.
Right. That works. Good.
I move we approve the travel policy? No, the travel policy as presented.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the travel policy for the PDO as presented. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. The last item that we have related to the PDO is item 1.15, and that's to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding information technology issues related to the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. Well, like when you start up anything new, you learn things. And I think everybody here is familiar with the way the IT system is set up at the county, which is server-based. We don't know what we're going to end up doing with the entire properties over on Earl Garrett, but we found that the case management program, the best case management program that was available for the Public Defender's Office is cloud-based, not server-based, which has presented some unique problems. And I guess at various points in time in the last couple of months that we have discussed and maybe even cussed these issues, trying to get it all teased out. But the bottom line is that we've come up with the recommendation to treat the IT needs for the Public Defender's Office at 550 Earl Garrett the same as we do juvenile probation. Juvenile probation, you may or may not know, is not on our server. They have a computer over there, I think actually two, that are compatible and connected to our server, and they use that for all the official things, such as encode, timesheets, budget, purchase orders, these types of things that have to be done on the county system. They have purchased already computers that they're running through the cloud right now. Most of them are using your own personal phones and computers at this point. It's been kind of a rough start to get it up. But what we've worked out between the IT department and the PDO department is just to do the same thing we're doing over with juvenile probation. And they can have their own domain name. They can run their programs, their case management programs on the computers through the cloud-based storage. But anything that has to come back, the essential functions back here at the county, will come through a couple of computers that they'll have over there in their offices. And I've worked out, I think we've got agreement for everybody on this, so I think this is a win-win for us.
The juvenile probation, is that what you said, uses the system you just described? Is it cloud-based?
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, they don't use their own domain name over there. They actually use yahoo.com
okay.
For their emails. Now they do have, they still email us officially on the Kerr Text US on the computers that they have that are in our service system, which would be the same thing for the PDO.
And so Bruce and IT department think this is the way to go?
Yep.
Yep.
And I will say,
can I ask him a question?
Yeah.
If you'll come in. What I'd like to know is, and we went through this before with KCAD, and it was about security at the courthouse. Do you have any concerns about that at all?
Negative.
Okay.
That's
all I need to know, that we have a firewall and we're protected.
One of the big reason for this is that they're dealing with
4 of the counties. And their attorneys have to be able to access this data from those 4 counties when they're at court. And this is the way that enables them to do it and keeps our security where it needs to be.
That's good.
So,
And I want to compliment John and Elizabeth as well as Bruce. We've all worked together to get this thing worked out. And when we had the Oversight Board Committee meeting a week or so ago, we actually put together a subcommittee that we don't even have to utilize because we worked it out here locally to begin with. So this was just, these are just growing pains.
Good.
And everybody's playing nice. It's all good.
Judge, do we need a motion for this? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, I was looking at the agenda item. We know what they're doing. I'm not sure how we would word what we want them to do, and I don't recall that we ever had a motion for juvenile probation.
I don't think we did.
For them to do it either, so do we need one?
I think they've got the authority to do it.
Well, the policy is that everything goes through IT. And what we're doing here is making an exception to that because of the circumstances. So do we need
Well,
a...
it's still going through IT in a certain way. It's just IT's not doing their unique equipment.
I don't think we have a written policy either, and I mean, similarly, other departments could choose to have their own IT to do it themselves.
So the question I have is that we have 5 counties involved in this. We have, is our IT department going to maintain it? And if so, do the other counties pay for that?
Yeah, they
Their
just
portion
like the rent, the air conditioning, and everything else. Yeah,
Okay.
they pay for it.
It's simple explanation. I think John's ready to give it, but the simple version of this is IT will be responsible for those computers that are on the server system. And yes, and troubleshooting. But for the system that they're using that is cloud-based, that is a PDO responsibility to be paid for and shared by all 5 counties. Right, John?
So
not by our IT.
I get it, but now but there are always problems.
Well, he's here to consult, but
are you gonna have your an IT guy, John?
Well, so the case management system we've used, they provide the support for that.
Okay.
For
so
example,
they would send somebody?
Yes,
That's
or we call a
the
1-800
contract?
line, or however you would do it. And then, just like when we purchased the computers, so we maximizing the use of the grant. We bought all the computers for the office, about $20,000. TIDC is paying 80% of that cost. So, and then same thing, the case management system was $14,700, and they're paying 80% of that as well. So,
and to clarify, because what John's saying is absolutely correct, but here's the way it works. Kerr County pays for it. Okay, the purchase orders come to the county, and they're processed through the auditor's office. And then we apply to TIDC because this is a reimbursement. We get reimbursed, and they reimburse us for the 80%, and then we bill out the others. And the way we set our interlocal agreements up is we have it amortized by month of what we expected those costs to be. So actually, and we've actually billed and been paid. I don't have all the counties paid. I know several have.
Several have.
But what John said is exactly what's happening. We just have multiple steps to get there, and that's part of it. We have to work these little steps out as we go.
Well, I'm just thinking about the practical part of it because what John mentions is that they have support.
Right.
Yes.
The support contract comes with what you purchase with your software and the rest of it. In practical, day to day, somebody running over there and fixing something, if that's our IT department, then everybody needs to understand that that's the way it works, and everybody in the courthouse and at the sheriff's department needs to understand that's one more place that our IT guy has to be. One more person you're in line behind. So I'm just talking about the practical stuff here.
And just so that we're focused on that detail of the practicalities, it's only on the 2 computers that are hooked up to this server. And anything on the other part, the rest of the system goes through the PDO. And we've had good cooperation from all 5 counties. Medina County, by the way, outsources their IT. And we've provided the name to Bruce to be able to interface with that so that we have somebody that we can draw on to come in and help if they have problems over there that are not within the scope of what his responsibilities are. But the thing about it is, it's all being coordinated. We've all, we got it all out on the table. That's why we're coming here to y'all to tell you what we're doing and why. It's just transparent. So I don't know if we need a motion or not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Got the
But
authority.
you have the authority and we approve. And we like where everything is, and so we're just affirming that we've got all this out in the open and worked out.
That's good.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to work on that temporary office space.
What?
I said you're back over, so
Oh, yeah.
they're not gonna have enough.
Okay. The last thing on the consideration agenda that I have is 1.16. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to update the job description for the indigent services clerk position. Ms. Doss.
Good morning again. Yes, my indigent services clerk will be retiring, and in lieu of changing.
Jennifer, can you speak up a little louder? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My indigent services clerk will be retiring very soon, and in the transition between having a new person, I'd like to update the job description to be 50% indigent health and 50% HR assistant.
To me, it makes sense to visit with Jennifer about this, and it allows her a little more flexibility how she operates the office. And remember, this will be now 2 new employees in the next couple of months. Cindy's moving.
And just to refresh everybody's recollection, on top of what he's saying, is that this is what the outgoing indigent health employee wanted to do and wanted to be able to work into an HR position. We never changed the job description, and so with this opportunity, we've sat down with Jennifer and said, this is the time to go ahead and make it.
And she's working with all of the new employees for the PDO, so that's a lot more HR work that comes into play.
I make a motion to approve the updated job description in the HR department for the indigent service clerk position.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the job description change for the indigent services clerk in the HR department. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, approval agenda. Pay the bills.
This morning's invoices for approval amount to $750,295.14.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve paying the bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Budget amendments. Mr. Robles.
Yes, we have 6 today, all line item transfers within our department. One for Road and Bridge, 198th DA, 216th DA, HR, Sheriff, and Agriculture Extension Office.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the budget amendments as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Late bills.
We have one late bill. It's for $12,532.
Move we approve the late bill.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the late bill as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Auditor reports.
Yes, we performed an internal audit on the Animal Control Services Department. We've issued our report. We just ask that you accept the report.
Is it part of the monthly bills, or will it be? Or not monthly bills, monthly reports?
Oh.
No.
It's
You were
in
emailed it earlier.
Okay. So we don't need separate action on this then?
We do.
Oh, we do?
To
Oh, okay.
accept
What?
it.
Let me make a motion we accept the auditor's report for the Animal Control Services Department.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the audit report for Animal Control Services. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Monthly reports.
Yes, amended reports from Animal Control Services for month October 2020, November 2020, December 2020, January 2021, February 2021. Fines, judgments, and jury fees collected for March 2021, JP4, Bill Ragsdale. Animal Control Services for March 2021, Director Reagan Gibbons. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the monthly reports as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Court orders.
Yes, we have court orders from our April 12th meeting. It's 38649 through 38677. And from our April 19th meeting for 38678. They have a slight change to court order 38658. It's related to the tobacco settlement disbursement. And I think it'd be appropriate to add the amount of that. So we added at the end of it, which amounts to $32,068.79. So it's clear to the public. And with that, I'll change and make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the court orders as presented with revision. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Unanimous. Information agenda. 3.1, status reports from department heads. Charlie.
Thank you.
We made you wait the whole time this day.
That's right. Last week on Thursday, our contractor, Ed Majinsky, was grading Roy Street, and they're getting the drainage fixed. There's an area that has always been a problem, and this is the time to fix it. And got a little too close to a gas service, clipped the service. It did bend it, and they called Atmos immediately. Atmos came out and got the situation resolved very quickly. There wasn't an evacuation, but as you know, when these things happen, there's a lot of precautions that have to be taken. The contractor has to just stop his equipment right where it's at, turn it off, get out and get away. And anyone that's in the area has to be told, don't go anywhere near. So there were some folks on Jonas and at the end of Roy Street, they were not allowed to leave. And the reason is that Roy Street right there is very narrow. The motor grader that clipped the line was in the way. Atmos trucks were in the way. They had a backhoe. They had to unearth the main and get that service cut off until they could put a new one in. A lot of folks don't realize that these gas lines are steel, and in order to, you have to have a welder come out and weld a new tap onto the top of the steel line, which that happened, and you've got to wait till a welder shows up. But I can tell you, Atmos had their game on. They don't have a welder that has an Atmos badge on. He doesn't work for Atmos, but he's an independent welder that is certified to do their work. And they have a number of them, and they had one come out, and the guy got on it right away. Matter of fact, while he was doing his welding, I went down the street and talked to one of the workers who was having to turn people back and say, I'm sorry.
I would have to.
You can't go down this
As far away
street.
as possible.
We had someone who
Notice
needed.
how he went down the street.
We had someone who needed to get to work. They couldn't leave, and I think they had their boss on the line. And we were, hey, she really cannot leave, boss. She's got to stay home. We need to be safe. But the whole situation, I think they had everything back in order within 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours from when the incident started. It was handled very professionally, very quickly. A contractor got back to work in the afternoon after lunch and got back on schedule. So that's what happened on Thursday, and those things are just a good learning experience for everyone to see how the process works and talk to the contractor, kind of have okay, what can we do different next time to prevent this from happening.
How deep was the gas line?
2 feet. So the tap on top of the gas line is a 2-inch gas line. The tap sticks up about 6 inches, so now you've got a service about 18 inches deep. And that's, unfortunately, that's how deep the lines were installed years ago. I think there's a minimum at least 3 feet. It may be more for a gas line now. I can't remember. There's a specific code, but we all know they're shallow. Everybody knows those are shallow, and you've got to take extra precautions to try to avoid these things from happening.
Okay.
Happy ending. Well done.
Yes, it was.
Well done. Any other department heads? Status reports from elected officials. Let's move on then. Status reports from liaison commissioners.
One, the airport, and sheriff have been involved in that. We've had, stop me if I'm going too far here, Sheriff, some things that out at the airport that had to do with safety, and it's individuals spotlighting airplanes with high intensity lights to cause problems for pilots, including air vac. Airport President of the Airport Board contacted the sheriff, so we got to take action on this immediately. With that, sheriff took action, and Sheriff, why don't you tell us what happened there? But it could have been a really dangerous situation was correct. Stop.
Basically, you stop me.
Basic information.
Yeah, basic information. Yeah, our office was contacted by the president of the airport board of some spotlighting on an incident. A pilot was coming in from airlife to land. I believe he was using night vision. I guess I'd say a Q-beam was used to flash. It kind of blinded him. My understanding, he had to kind of abort, kind of get his eyesight back together, and came to land. At that time, he was spotlighted again. They were able to film it pretty much at that second time. Then that was reported to us, and within 24 hours, we were able to conduct an investigation, identify a second party. Both parties were arrested and placed in jail with a bond. So yeah, it could have been real dangerous, but we were able to take care of that. And if it continues, about all we can do is just continue to rearrest them.
But good cooperation between the airport board and the sheriff.
Yes.
And so forth. So
good. And I think we ought to emphasize this is truly dangerous.
Very, very dangerous. Yes.
And
my understanding
these
is
are adjacent landowners that did this.
To some
across the road.
Yeah.
To some extent, my understanding it's been going on for like 3 years, but it's the first time.
Ask if it's public information. It is.
It's been going on for 3 years, but I guess it's evolved to this extent where, like I said, they kind of have to abort and regroup and come back in with a landing a little bit more east, but the lights were still flashing at them.
Well, I just want to make it clear that I support your enforcement efforts.
Yeah, thank you.
This is too dangerous for the public.
It is. It could have been really bad. Thank God we were able to get away with that. Okay.
We had a pilot killed over the weekend in Texas. Plane crash down near the coast.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to have anybody contributing to that danger in flying.
Correct.
So, any other status reports? I don't think we have anything for executive session. So we are adjourned.
I thought we'd be through about 11 just